Today, we're going to talk about taking an ordinary pair of wire cutters and turning them into the best pair of reel nippers you'll ever own. Rail nippers, as most of you are probably familiar, are made for cutting track. And believe it or not, they're actually made to be cut vertically, not side to side. Took me a long time to learn this. That said, these only go so far. They're not nearly big enough or strong enough to cut this 2-rail O gauge. And they leave a lot to be desired. The handle is small, you keep losing them. The tips themselves are prone to being broken and chipped by careless users. So we're going to solve that today by making these. These are literally the best pair of rail nippers I have ever owned, and they will cut through darn near anything. So as you can tell, it provides a nice flush finish. So one slight hit with a rasp just to get the burr off if you want, but it's perfectly flat. You can go ahead and throw a rail joiner on there and you're good to go if you want. So they also work great for HO track. This is code 100 here. This here is code 83. Works just as well. Again, burr free on the top and the bottom. Nice and burr free on the side. There is a little burr right in the middle, and that's really where you want it to be. So I've actually found that this works real well for N scale as well. N scale and code 83 rail are pretty close together. N scale is typically code 80, which is about the same height, believe it or not. So to make these, you're going to have to start with just a generic pair of wire cutters. These just happen to be Husky brand. I think I paid $5 or $8 a piece for these. And we're going to go ahead and mark how far back we want the flush trim pliers to go. Now keep in mind, you can go all the way to the back here and make these entirely flush trim pliers, but I don't recommend it for 2 reasons. One is you still want to be able to use these as wire cutters, and 2, when you put the rail all the way back in there and try and flush cut it, it doesn't do as nice of a job. So you realistically just want to do the first third to first half of these cutters. So I'm making it green here so you can see it nice and easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. We're going to use a Dremel tool. This has a 2-inch gyros cutoff wheel on it, although the much smaller wheels actually work just as well in this instance. So we're going to go ahead and get it started. What I did here is I just went slowly back and forth with the Dremel tool at about half speed and cut a nice straight line across the end of the tool, almost all the way down to where the V notch of the wire cutters intersects. Not quite there yet, but almost there. The next thing you'll see me doing is I'm actually going to turn both the cutters and the Dremel tool, and I'm going to start skimming away the surface of the material. Now keep in mind, you have to go slow at this so you don't heat up the steel and lose the temper. So you might have to do this a little bit at a time in order to make it look right and in order for it to function as well as humanly possible. So there you have it. Nice and flush on one spot, and still a regular pair of wire clippers on the other side. Now, the nice thing about wire cutters like this is they actually are sharpenable. You can take your Dremel or possibly a rasp and basically just rub the edge here. And what that will do is that'll resharpen the edge and allow you to continue to use these for years to come. Keep in mind that this does take a while. To be completely honest, I did cheat and go off camera, and I used a belt grinder to grind away most of this material to save some time. But it is entirely possible to do it with the Dremel tool only, and that's actually the way I did it the first time. And again, with the new pair, good to go. So keep in mind, it does take a little bit of fiddling to get these fine-tuned. My original pair here, they work really well. I've been working with them for a while now, though, and they've been sharpened a few times, but they work really great. And for basically $5 or $8, which is half of what these are, you get a pair of rail nippers and wire cutters that go far beyond anything you could ever imagine for a model railroading tool. And it's worth every single penny and every single second to go ahead and make and modify these into the useful tool that they are.